Hi, I'm Reggie Brooks, Executive Director of the Holtz Heroes Foundation, and welcome to the Zorich Podcast as we celebrate Black History Month and some of the legendary players from the Lou Holtz era.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special edition of the Zorich Podcast. I've teamed up with Holtz Heroes Foundation to celebrate Black History Month. We'll be interviewing some of the amazing student athletes who became instant legends at Notre Dame during the Lou Holtz era. Of course, we have one of those amazing student athletes right here, Tony Rice, Notre Dame captain, the last quarterback to win a national championship. I mean, I know that's great, but how long has it been?
It's over 30-something years now.
Okay. And, of course, a true Notre Dame legend. Everybody, this is my boy, Tony Rice.
Hello, everyone.
I'm supposed to have, clapping and cheering in the background.
Let me be boy me.
No, not at all. I mean, so this is obviously been great. I mean, we're just coming a couple days off of the Super Bowl. Did you have a chance to watch any, or?
Yeah, I sat through the beginning to the end of it.
Okay,
it was kind of amazing, and I kept on thinking about some of the plays. I'm like, well, I could have done that better, or I couldn't have done that. But it's just one of those things. What if?
Sure.
I can do this right here. But I don't know. It was an enjoyable game, and I just love to see them compete. And no one ever thought that Cincinnati was going to be that close.
Oh, exactly. And that's one of the things. I mean, I had a really soft spot in my heart for Matthew Stafford. Just getting the crap beat out of him with the Lions, and now having a chance to kind of prove himself how great of a quarterback he is. But I really love the story of the Bengals having a chance to, I think last season they were just terrible, and now all of a sudden, they wanted to beat everybody.
No one ever thought. And if you look at, their squad, a bunch of, 2 or 3 years in the league.
Sure.
But they all came together. And like you said about Stafford, I was so happy about him. He spent over a little bit, 13 years in the NFL and never made it to the Super Bowl. And he goes on to win it with the Rams. So that's good.
Right. I was fortunate enough to talk to Todd a couple of days ago, Todd Light, and he was just talking about how cool it was for him being a former player with the Rams, having a chance to kind of witness that in LA. When he won it with the Rams, they were in St. Louis. So he's just kind of talking about that. So that was cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cold place, warm place. Warm place, cold place.
Very much so. Well, we obviously want to thank Reggie Brooks for kind of putting this together. And we're really such a great idea having the chance to kind of take just a little small look at kind of the experience that some of our Black student athletes had at the University of Notre Dame, and kind of what they went on to become. And so, of course, the first question I'm going to ask, what was it like being a Black student athlete at Notre Dame for you?
Well, if you look at the whole spectrum of everything, how everything turned out, I didn't know Notre Dame was 3% minority there. So, I was like, wow, okay. But again, it wasn't a big factor for me. Mm-hmm. I would just have to be a student. And, as you know, I didn't play my freshman year. So, when those people, when I said those people, the fans, were into it, they didn't know that much about me. They read about my blue and gold, but did they know I was really Black, or do I know I was white? Because Rice is a universal name and everything.
Sure.
They don't know. It's not an Irish name.
Right.
Like Ricey. But those things like that, it didn't really affect me. I know that growing up, my grandmother did the best she could for grandkids that she raised, and we didn't look at the color, even though we're down south. But we didn't really focus on that. We just want to be the best people we can, and treat others with respect and treat others the way you wanted to be treated.
Sure. Well, and it's kind of interesting because, oftentimes when you're kind of put in a different situation, and you mentioned before, having a chance to be in an environment where, you're part of 3% of the minority, what happened when you kind of went back to kind of your old neighborhood? I mean, were you kind of treated differently? Did people look at you kind of the same as they did before you left?
Yeah, they kept on calling me a Yankee. I don't know what you meant by that. I was like, well, okay, it's for, Yankees, New York Yankees or something like that. They said, no, you talk funny. So yeah, down there, it was more Protestant, Baptist, all of those Lutheran, Presbyterian.
Right.
And then to go up north to Catholic institution, it's more like you changed on us. I was like, the only thing that really changed is Mass is 45 minutes. My church that I belong to was like 2 hours.
2 hours.
So that was a big change right there. And I really liked that.
Your first Mass, you're like, it's over? Wait, we're done? We're done? Well,
yeah, where's the singing and everything else that goes along? Where's the Sunday dinner that's going to happen afterwards?
Afterward, right. Because church normally kind of went through the whole day.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and I really kind of want to talk about that because, when you think about kind of your experience and the experience of your friends kind of back home during this time, you had a very different experience than they did when you went that first year to Notre Dame. So you come back, friends are still friends, but it's just kind of a different feel. Did you feel that way?
Yeah, I felt that way. I felt that I was getting close to the people that, I was sent off to school to live in a dorm. We're like, dorm mates and everything. Mm-hmm. And then you're on your own. It's called responsibilities.
Sure.
Back at home, you don't have that. You have it. But again, you're living up under someone else's roof.
Right.
You are trying to establish yourself. And you got your classmates or your dorm mates helping you out because who wants to see you fail? Right. These guys want to have that graduation rate way up there, 99%. Mm-hmm. They wish they can get 100. Right. Everyone wish they can get 100. Right. But again, when I went back home, it was more of, you talk funny, you're adapting to the environment, which I was. And then I felt that I kind of lost those friends there because that's when I'm growing up. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Growing up playing football, I played with these guys since the 4th grade. Now I'm a senior and then I'm going to college. It's like, whoa, will I ever see these guys again?
Right.
And the only person I've really seen was my brother. My brother, and they came to visit me, but I think my college friends are my friends for life. Don't get me wrong, my high school friends, I wish I can come back and see them and everything, but I don't venture out that much, and especially down here in Miami, it's nice and warm. I don't want to go to a cold weather place. But if it comes down to going to a family reunion, yes, I would love to see my family. I would love to rekindle the fire that we had growing up. But then I remember my college plays in years more than my high school because, again, we're growing up.
Sure.
And here we are 30-some years later, won the national championship, and we're still talking about it. And they're still saying, well, you was one of the first Black quarterbacks. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm a Black quarterback. I didn't know I was Black. I'm sorry.
Well, and I think what's interesting, and you've shared this story with me before, the time that you didn't play as a freshman, you were now a student, you were involved in dorm life as well. Can you kind of share a little bit about kind of those experiences that you remember being a freshman and not playing?
Yeah, it was just one of those things that I had to adapt to the environment. You've been playing something your whole entire life and it was taken away from you for 1 year. So what are you going to do? How are you going to adapt to the environment? And I was so happy that I had a good supporting cast of people that were around me, giving me support that, hey, you're like us now. You're a student. And we're going to make sure that if you ever need any help, don't hesitate. And I couldn't believe it. And here it is. I'm still friends with some of those guys to this day, even my teammates too. And they say, never forget the people who help you across the bridge.
Sure.
And I've been very gracious and thankful that I have encountered those people in my life, and I will continue on. And like Coach Holtz used to say, you give me 4 years, I give you 40 years. Right. I give you my lifetime for Notre Dame and the people that graduated from there.
That's great to hear. There are also stories where you talked about where I'm 99% sure that these are your stories, but were there times that you went home with guys like over like maybe a weekend break or maybe like over like a spring break or something like that? You got to share that because I think it's interesting because when you look at kind of when you're a black student athlete at Notre Dame, I mean, you know, you're playing, you're practicing, you're going to study hall. I mean, you have all these things that are regimented, and then the off season comes around. Sometimes don't kind of like not know what to do, and then oftentimes spring break came. Some guys went home, but other guys didn't. And I know that you've kind of talked about how you kind of like would go home with like guys in your dorm and stuff that you had just befriended that year.
Oh yes, you know, and again, it goes like this. I had a lot of time to do a lot of things my freshman year, and since I wasn't playing, it's like, okay, I didn't have enough money to go home that much. So a lot of people like, hey, listen, you want to come to my home for, you know, Thanksgiving or something like that? Because I know with the Ben Wise, I ended up going up to their house in Coldwater, Michigan. And I still remember that name, and I still remember the school colors because I went to a football game that night.
No way. Are you serious?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Football game. The colors are red and white.
Oh, my gosh.
I still remember that because it was one of those years that, you know, I was kind of lonely. I wanted to go home. I wanted that little home cooked meal, but I wasn't able to because I didn't have the money. And that family was so gracious enough to allow me to go home with them. And, you know, you got another guy named Pat Larson, who was my roommate at the time with Dean Brown.
Okay.
And he lives in Pennsylvania. And we went to Pennsylvania one year for one of those breaks too, as well. So we all hung around together. And a lot of people, only Notre Dame people can understand this, and everybody else have their little story about their university.
Sure.
But I can talk about Notre Dame, that it is a unique place. And, you know, I met so many people along the way, and I'm still meeting them to this day. And some people say, hey, remember that touchdown run you ran against USC? They escalated a little bit. It was like 80 yards. And I still say, you know, 68 is only 65.
Hey, 80 sounds better.
Oh, yeah. But it was one of those people that really, helped me to adapt to the university. Said what Notre Dame was all about. It was more the upperclassmen.
Okay.
That you know, put forth the effort.
Okay. That's really encouraging to hear. So, well, one of the time you were such a great quarterback, and yeah, I mentioned in the intro the last quarterback to win a national championship at Notre Dame. And oh, by the way, you know, you're one of a handful of black quarterbacks as well. But I mean, what was it like being kind of a black quarterback, the center of attention for the team? I mean, doing the press conferences, kind of talking to people, being the representative of Notre Dame football. What was that like?
My sophomore year, and that was kind of the hardest part of the whole situation because, you know, Terry went down with broken collarbone, and, you know, you got one black quarterback, and then you got everybody else look the same. So I had to work a little harder, and, you know, I was surprised that Coach Holtz put me in there.
Okay.
And again, you had Kent Graham was another quarterback there, and Kent was a great guy. He really pushed me to the limit as far as trying to be the best player. And we all worked together. Coach Cordelli, one of my best coaches ever.
Okay.
I remember him telling me that don't listen to the words that come. Don't listen to the tone of his voice, but the words that are coming out of his mouth, because he's trying to help me.
Okay.
And it kind of warmed up, and Coach Holtz made it easier for me in games that practice was hard. And how do you adapt, and how do you talk to the press, and, you know, here's some things to say, not to say. Being a snot-nosed sophomore kid, so it made me grow up pretty fast. Okay, as far as knowing the role and knowing what position I was in, as far as you're going to be labeled now as one of the black quarterback at Notre Dame.
Right. So how was the experience when you left Notre Dame? You had a chance to play in the CFL for a little bit. I mean, how did Notre Dame prepare you for kind of that level of competition?
As you know, we played against the best in college. And here you are when you're trying to go to that next level, and those guys, and there's a very handful of them right there, they're very good.
Right.
So it's not like you got a sloppy team. It's just like, hey, they say know your personnel at the time.
Right.
So I don't know, it was just challenge. I love challenges. It's just like you tell me you can't beat it. I can't beat you in badminton. I'm going to beat you in badminton.
Yes, you are. And bags as well.
Bags.
Darts. Let's talk about darts.
Darts, even dominoes. Even the little things count. But going to that next level, these guys are professional, or they wouldn't be there. They're making a lot of money, but to compete against the best is one of the things that I love and I cherish, and always want to go against the best because they make you the best.
Sure. No, absolutely. And I think it's interesting because the level of talent that we had at Notre Dame, our second team guys could have beat some of the opponents that we were playing with, and like when we were playing, even SC or Miami, right? You throw in our second team guys, and they would compete as much as we did as first team starters.
All right, because it's their time to shine too, and they want to show the coach that, hey, listen, if my name is called upon, I will be ready. And we had one of the best teams out there, and I would put my second and third team against any of those other teams any day. Because
right, exactly.
They're good.
We are talking to the legendary Tony Rice, and we have kind of a special edition of the Zorich Podcast. We are celebrating Black History Month with the Holtz Heroes Foundation, and really kind of having just to kind of get a small dive into what's going on with Tony, kind of his days at Notre Dame as a Black student athlete, as a Black quarterback. And one of the questions that, I love hearing this when I talk to guys, because everything is different, but it all kind of boils down to kind of the same thing. What does Coach Holtz's mantra of trust, love, and commitment mean to you?
Well, to me, and I'm thinking about it. I think about it all the time. And whatever he instilled in me, it still operates to this day. And I know every speech that he's spoken, and trust your teammates, love everyone. You're committed. You're committed to doing something. Committed to graduating. Committed to going to be the best player you can. And your teammates got to count on you. So trust, love, and commitment is the way I take it.
Well, and I think it's interesting how when you talk about, because when I heard it first when I was 18 years old, I was like, love, there's like 105 dudes in this room. Like, what are you talking about? So the idea that was kind of, talked about all the time since my freshman year and for the next 4 years. And then all of a sudden, we're talking about 30, 40 years later, and we're still kind of talking about that. I think that's what's so amazing, because what he instilled in us for 4 years wound up helping us for literally the next 40.
Oh, yes. He said, what you learn on the football field, you're going to carry into the real world. Because the things, and we had to overcome a lot of obstacles and stuff on the field. And
sure.
We're in the real world now. It doesn't face us because he prepared us to be the best while we're there and when we continue out.
Well, and I think it's interesting because when you look at, the diversity we had on that team, folks from all different types of walks of life, yet, when we all get together, it's, kind of those shared experiences, right? It's talking about if it's not Coach Holtz leading the relaxation period, it's somebody doing a great impression, and although the lessons we learned during that time were about leadership, kind of teamwork, and those are things that were kind of weaved into the success that we had. Can you comment a little bit about kind of the lessons that you learned at 18, 19, 20 years old, and how they really kind of assist and help you now in what you're doing?
Yeah, there's no shortcut in life. For instance, Coach Holtz was telling me, hey, I'm running the option, step at a 45-degree angle. not a 44, not a 46, a 45.
Wow.
And I knew I had 45 all the way, but hey, it wasn't his 45. So, those little things and how you can take it, because being a young kid, you think you know everything.
Sure.
Just someone put you in check. And he want to make sure that he had the reign over you, that, he's trying to help you.
Right.
So whatever he tells you to do, you do it, because he's not there to harm you. He's there to help you.
Right.
So, the things in life, and I see, and I go back and hear him speak or see him on a video. And it's like, I heard that so many times, and I can rephrase it. But it still brings me goosebumps, because there's something that happened when I was 18, 19 years old. And to this day, I'm still hearing it now.
Well, and one of those things I kind of want to talk to you, as you got older, I mean, sophomore, you kind of eyes wide open. When you get to the senior, you start going to banquets, you start talking to people. Did you ever feel pressure of being a black quarterback at Notre Dame?
No, that's why I would joke around with that all the time. They said, "You're the first black quarterback." I'm black? Oh, I didn't know I was black.
Right.
Let me go check myself. I didn't get my black card, whatever.
Right.
But I don't know. I just said that I was one of the pioneers of a black quarterback at Notre Dame, because Cliff Brown was one. He's number one, and then I'm number two. But to win a national championship as a team, they knew me as that. But it's a great feeling, because I just thought about the teams we played against, like Major Harris being a black quarterback, and then some of my black idols, Randall Cunningham, Warren Moon, all those guys. It's like, wow, I wonder if I can sit in a room with them and hear their experience of being a black quarterback, how they were labeled.
Sure.
And I said, well, you know what, Tony? People want to hear me too say it, because, and again, it just goes back to, I wouldn't change anything that has happened in my life, especially going to Notre Dame. That was the best decision my grandmother made for me.
My grandmother. Can you share that story with us, because it is hilarious. I mean, I know we talked about it here on the Zorich Podcast before, but for those folks who might not have seen it, I mean, this is a great story, and it's great that he started off with, "It's a great school that my grandmother wanted me to go to." So
you're looking at it as more of, it's not no freshman, it's not no senior in high school now, and these coaches are coming to your house recruiting you. And Danny Ford, you got the USC coaches, like the Georgia coaches and stuff, and it's like, okay, hey guys, you got to go through the gatekeeper, and the gatekeeper is my grandmother. It's like, hey, I've never left the state of South Carolina before. And these guys came, Coach Holtz came to the house, sat in her favorite chair, and no one has ever sat there. I was like, he better get up out of there. It's not going to be a good show. But you had him go and sit there and, had a nice conversation. And I had this conversation the other day, because he said, your son will have the best school. It's nothing about football. The best university. Right there to attend the best. And it's like, okay. And, she was sitting there just talking, and I was, repeating some of the things she was saying to him, because she spoke, softly, and then she spoke the Geechee talk too, and everything. And then after she left, she said, "You're going to follow that little man." Wow. And she forgot his name and everything, but you're going to follow him. Wow. And I couldn't say, but yes, ma'am. And I never knew where Notre Dame was at like you did. I didn't know where Notre Dame was at. I've never seen snow before. She shipped me up there. I was like, I'm ready to come back home. She mentioned to me, she's like, I don't have enough money to send you home. And I think it was $123 to go home. So you start something, you finish it. And that was the best decision. So you sit there and you take it, because she knew in her mind that it was the right fit.
Sure.
If I would have known at the time, I'm not wise like her. She can get that feeling of a good, wholesome person that wanted to look out and do the best for your kid.
Right.
And I thought that she made the best decision for me, and I don't regret it. And I look back and I was like, she was alive right now, I'd give her a high five and say thank you once again.
Wow. Well, and you alluded to Major Harris. I'm assuming you knew this, but I'd read somewhere on social media, not that I believe everything on social media, but it came from a very reputable source, that the 1989 national championship with Notre Dame and with West Virginia, that was the first game where there were two black starting quarterbacks. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I did something on the Fiesta Bowl.
Okay.
And with some a Major and I together.
Right.
I had major props for it. One of the best. I loved
amazing.
It. I loved watching it. But that day, I'm gonna stick with my defense. My defense took care of him.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. So Major, and I was thinking about this too. You know, a lot of things run through this little head sometimes. Mm-hmm. That we were, and God, looking at what kind of show he put on when he was even hurt too.
Right.
And he still put on a good show.
Yeah.
He still came back out there.
Absolutely.
So I applaud him on that. I have so much mad respect for him. Mm-hmm. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch. I had a chance to meet him when I went to New York, him and I, for the Heisman Trophy ceremony. So if we look back now about everything, we just sit back and start laughing. We did this. We did what?
Gosh, that's amazing.
And it was a major thing.
It was.
Two black quarterbacks. Absolutely. Number 9, too.
Yeah, there you go. Both number 9s. That's awesome. All right. As I mentioned before, this is kind of a small snippet of what's going on with Tony. Please share with us what you're doing now. I know you're in Miami. You actually left us in Chicago. For those folks who might not know, and I'm going to rant about this for a minute, we used to ride motorcycles together all the time. When I say all the time, I meant all the time. And Tony decided to up and leave us and move to Miami, where he unfortunately rides year-round, and I unfortunately do not ride year-round. So, if you believe me, Tony, but please talk us through what you're doing in Miami besides living it up.
Yeah, I'm in Miami, keeping warm. Like today was like high 75, but I work for Aon.
Man. Come on,
Aon
75?
is 75.
All right, sorry.
I work for Aon. Aon is a insurance brokerage firm down here. I'm working in the Miami office. I basically dealing with risk management. Also dealing with a lot of Notre Dame people. Okay. A lot of Notre Dame people at my age at this time are decision makers. So I want to get in front of them and show them that you trust me on the football field, trust me in the real world now.
There you go. I like it. All right. Well, Tony, this was great. I look forward to having you on the Zorich Podcast again sometime soon when your schedule frees up, because I know you're really busy. But I do want to thank you for taking out time to participate in the Holtz Heroes Foundation celebration of Black History Month. Reggie Brooks came up with this great idea. We have a chance to kind of interview a handful of amazing Black legends at Notre Dame that were during the Holtz era. And I just think it's amazing when you kind of look at the folks who kind of went through those doors during Coach Holtz's time. I mean, they were some of the best players in the history of Notre Dame. And it's amazing that we have a chance to kind of experience that. But a little bit more importantly, kind of the lessons we learned during the time with Coach Holtz.
Yep. And I'll tell you one thing, another thing too. I really enjoyed, being interviewed by you, Christopher. And I like to call you Christopher, but it's just like we haven't missed a beat. Even though I'm so far away, but I'm close to your heart.
Okay, thank you for telling me you're close to my heart. But I mean, here's the problem: my heart's freezing because it's 12 degrees here, and you just said it was 75, so that's not fair at all. So I am very, very jealous about that.
But thank you, Christopher.
Sir, thank you very much. And again, we want to thank Holtz's Heroes for really kind of taking out the time to kind of highlight our Black exemplars that were at Notre Dame during the Holtz's era. So thank you very much. And Tony, look forward to talking and seeing you again soon.
Love you, brother. Take care.
Go Irish.
Go Irish all the way.